The sky split open with a violent crack of thunder, rain coming down like broken glass, and the wind howled like it had a score to settle. Trees bent sideways, power lines shook, and the narrow countryside road sat completely empty, except for one broken-down car, stranded and helpless right in the middle of it all, and the woman inside it, white-knuckling the steering wheel like it was the only thing holding her together, miles from the city, soaked in fear and rainwater. She had no idea that within the next hour, her life, and a complete stranger's, would never be the same. If you believe that one act of kindness can change the course of a destiny, and that everybody deserves a second chance, take a second right now to like this video, drop a comment letting us know where you're watching from, share it with someone who could use a little hope today, and hit subscribe. Stories like this one are meant to be felt. A few hundred meters down that same road, Daniel Carter wrestled with an umbrella that had stopped doing its job a long time ago. The wind flipped it inside out for the third time, and he finally gave up, tossing it into the ditch with a tired sigh. His shirt was soaked through, his boots caked in mud. But his mind wasn't on the storm. It was on his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, back home in their little wooden house, probably counting every second until he walked through the door. Life had never cut Daniel any slack. Losing his wife 3 years earlier had left a hollow inside him that never quite filled back in. Since then, every single day had been a quiet fight, raising Lily on his own, working 2 jobs, trying to be both mom and dad while barely keeping his own head above water. He had learned to get by on very little sleep, very little money, and even less hope. But Daniel had something the storm couldn't wash away, a heart that flat out refused to go cold. That's why, when he spotted the faint flicker of hazard lights through the downpour, he didn't think twice. At first, it looked like a trick of the lightning. But as he got closer, he made out the car, a sleek black sedan that had no business being on a road like this. The engine was dead, the tires half buried in mud. And inside, visible through the fogged-up window, was a woman drowning in panic. She looked completely out of place, like someone who had stumbled in from a different world entirely. Her clothes were elegant, even now drenched and wrinkled. Her face was pale, but held together in a way that said she was used to being in charge of chaos, not trapped inside it. Daniel knocked on the window. She flinched, then slowly rolled it down. The wind rushed in immediately, dragging the cold with it. For a moment, neither of them said a word. The storm filled the silence between them. Then Daniel motioned toward the road behind him, his voice steady, despite everything swirling around them. He told her she couldn't stay here, that the storm was getting worse by the minute, that flooding was coming. No drama, just plain truth. She hesitated. Trust didn't come easy to her. It hadn't for years. Being the CEO of a major company meant she had built walls around herself, solid ones, made of power and control and distance. But sitting alone in a dead car with the storm closing in fast, those walls felt paper thin. Finally, she gave a small nod. Daniel helped her out of the car, doing his best to shield her from the wind, and together they pushed forward through the storm toward the faint warm glow of his house in the distance. The house wasn't much, a small wooden place with peeling paint and a roof that groaned under pressure. But inside it was warm, safe, alive. The moment the door swung open, Lily came running, her little face lit up even with thunder crashing outside. She stopped short when she saw the stranger, eyes wide, then instinctively pressed herself closer to her father's side. Daniel spoke to her gently, telling her their guest needed some help. The woman stepped inside slowly, taking in the simplicity around her, the worn-out furniture, the small kitchen, the faint smell of soup still hanging in the air. It was worlds away from the glass towers and polished marble she lived in, and yet it felt genuinely real. Daniel handed her a towel, then went and found some of his late wife's old clothes, carefully put away, rarely touched. Offering them wasn't easy, but he did it anyway. She accepted them without a word, quietly grateful. As the storm hammered on outside, something unexpected started happening inside that little house. The tension eased, the distance shrank, and for the first time in a long time, both of them felt something they hadn't expected: connection. Hours went by. Lily eventually drifted off on the couch, curled under a blanket, her tiny hands still wrapped around her father's sleeve. The storm showed no sign of letting up, but inside, the world had gone quiet. That's when the woman finally opened up, not as a CEO, not as someone with power, just as a mother. She shared pieces of her life, not everything, but enough. The long hours, the sacrifices, the relentless pressure to perform, and above all, the guilt of never being present enough for her own child. Daniel listened. He didn't judge. He didn't cut in. He simply understood, the way only someone who had lost everything really could. And without many words, he shared his story back. Through the quiet steadiness in his eyes, the way he looked at Lily, the way he had built something from almost nothing. And somehow, in the middle of that storm, 2 broken lives found a fragile bridge reaching towards each other. Morning arrived softly. The storm had worn itself out, leaving behind silence and scattered wreckage. Sunlight pushed through the clouds, laying a gentle glow across everything it touched.
The woman stood at the doorway, her clothes dry now, her composure back in place. But something inside her had shifted. She looked back at Daniel and Lily, the two of them standing side by side, watching her go. Gratitude didn't begin to cover what she felt. Before walking out, she asked his name. Daniel told her simply, and then she was gone. Days turned into weeks. Life fell back into its rhythm, or at least what passed for a rhythm in Daniel's world. Long shifts, small paychecks, and the daily effort to build something better for Lily. The storm faded into just another memory, until one morning, everything flipped upside down. Daniel showed up to work, a warehouse job he'd held onto despite how shaky he'd always felt, and walked straight into chaos. Workers were clustered outside, rumors spreading fast. The company had been bought out, new management, immediate restructuring, layoffs coming. Fear settled into his chest like a stone. He could not afford to lose this job. Not now, not ever. Then a black car rolled up, the door opened, and his breath stopped. It was her, but not the woman from the storm. This was someone else entirely. Confident, commanding, moving through the crowd with assistance and security at her heels. Her presence alone changed the air in the entire place. The CEO, the very same woman he had taken in out of the rain, was now standing at the top of the company that held his entire future. For one long moment, their eyes met. Recognition passed between them. Time seemed to hold still. What happened next, nobody saw coming. Instead of walking past him like he was nobody, she stepped forward, in front of the workers, the managers, the supervisors, everyone, and acknowledged him. Not with a speech, but with respect. That single moment sent a current through the whole crowd. Later that afternoon, Daniel was called into the office. His stomach turned the whole walk there. He was bracing for the worst. What he found was something else entirely. She offered him a position, not out of pity, but because she had seen something real in him that night. Strength, integrity, humanity. The kind of qualities that can't be trained into someone. And in a world where most people would have looked the other way, he had stepped forward. That meant something. Daniel hesitated, not because he didn't trust her, but because he didn't quite trust himself yet. But then he thought about Lily, and he said yes. From that point on, everything started to shift. Not overnight, not like magic, but steadily, one day at a time. Daniel worked harder than he ever had, learning, growing, reaching past the edges of what he thought he was capable of. And she, no longer just a face at the top of an org chart, became something more. A steady presence, a quiet source of support. Two people from completely different worlds, brought together by a storm, now moving down a road neither one of them had mapped out. And somewhere along the way, something deeper started taking shape. Not rushed, not forced, just real. Before this story wraps up, I want to ask you something straight from the heart. Comment "kindness wins" if you truly believe that one small act can change a life forever. Because sometimes it really does. Months later, Daniel stood inside a new home. Not big, not fancy, but steady, safe. A place where Lily could grow up without the weight of tomorrow pressing down on her. He watched her laugh and play and dream, and for the first time in years, he let himself breathe. The storm that had once threatened to tear everything apart had instead built something new. And as for her, she had changed too. Not in title or status, but deep down, she had learned to slow down, to show up, to be a mother, not just a provider. And in finding that, she found something she hadn't even realized she had lost somewhere along the way. Hope. If this story landed with you even a little, don't just scroll on past. Like the video, share it with someone who needs to believe that second chances are real, and subscribe for more stories that bring us back to what it actually means to be human. Because sometimes the moments that scare us the most, the storms we do anything to avoid, are exactly what lead us to where we were always supposed to be.